Good morning, goons and mutants. I hope this finds you well out there. I'm switching gears away from, you know what, it's been a week of transformer woes. It's been a month of it. I never see transformer issues, and then I get 3. And the same batch of amps from different customers. It's insane how things work out as seasons, even in this world. So you guys remember this DSL 201. This is the one that we had troubleshot down to the output transformer. This is the original one compared to the replacement unit, which is a proper Haber unit, or Habor, depending on what part of the continent you're sitting on right now. A proper paper interleave transformer right there, which is used as a replacement for, direct replacement for like the deluxe type amps, except this one's wound up a little bit more, a true 20 watt unit. So it's going to give this amp a lift across the spectrum, frequency response wise. I can't wait to hear what it does for this thing. And you guys, some of you guys were saying, why are you spending so much time on this DSL 201? It's like it's not the 5 watt, granted, but why are you spending so much time on it? Well, like, look, here's the backstory. This is the guy's, this used to belong to his father-in-law, and the guy passed on. So that work like this is the mission. This is one of the reasons why I started this company and named it as such. It's an awful name. When I have to pass you guys my email address, it's awful. It's too long. But that's just the way it is now, isn't it? So back when I reopened the shop, somebody asked me, hey, you said you were doing this for 20 years, but you kind of glossed over some things. Yeah, I didn't want to tell you everything, because it was sort of impromptu that I was sharing about the origins of the company. But in between contractual assignments or obligations, I would just do this kind of work. I would go back to either building or fixing people's amps on a project by project basis. It's something that I've been doing. I did it in earnest from 98 through 2004. And then I just did it in between, and I really started to focus on it again in 2019-ish or something. But I've never stopped doing it. But now this is all I'm doing. So that's that. I met a guy from the Inland Empire, where if you're from California, and you're on the west side of the 405, you know that that's a hell of a drive. And this guy, before I had a single review on Yelp, drove all the way from over there with a 1961 Fender Super, had 2 10s in it, a combo, right? I had no reputation here, except I had a passionate ad on Craigslist talking about what I do and what I want to do. So he gave me a jingle and said that, hey, my mom, when I was a teenager, my mom and dad bought me this amp. And it hasn't been turned on since the late 60s. It's been sitting in my closet under a cover slip that my mom hand sewn for me. His mom and dad were no longer with us. They died decades ago, but he took a chance on me. And that's when I really solidified the name, at least in my mind, the name of the company. So I don't know, it just made sense at the time, right? So here we are. And that spirit is alive in this restoration, right? It just is. So this is a beautiful Haber unit. The old transformer was a laydown type of a part, and I'm hoping that this causes no issues with the field that this is going to produce may be causing noise over here in these tube stages. This one's shielded. But I'll tell you that on the opposite side of this chassis, beneath this surface here, you can see the hardware kind of poking through. There's a wall there, some shielding. I may just remove it and then put it on the top side here, if it makes any difference whatsoever. If it makes any difference. So we're just gonna roll with it like it is. This Haber unit did not come with any sort of documentation. So this is the whole point of this quick video. What the hell are you actually, what are you trying to do to us? You might be asking. Well, I'm gonna show you quickly how to determine which tap you're dealing with. Is it the 4, 8, or 16 ohm tap here? The common is connected to via an alligator test lead over to the benchtop multimeter here. We have it set for resistance in the ohms range. It's auto ranging, so it's just gonna do its own thing. And then we're gonna take the other probe and we're gonna touch it to each one of these guys. And we're gonna make a mental note of which one has the highest resistance. Now, is it gonna say 4, 8, or 16 ohms? No, it's not. It's not gonna do that. But it's gonna give us a resistance reading. And the 16 ohm tap will be, as you guessed, the one with the highest resistance. It's gonna be 1 point something for all of them, I bet. Because I've done this before. You know, I'm not sitting here innovating. I'm just telling you I'm passing
wow. Look who can use Google.
Well, it's not that I used Google. It's just that I actually came up with this on my own. And I bet if I Googled it, someone else will have had a similarly clever thought. This is not rocket science. This is just, hey, I had an idea and it just so happens to work out. So that's what we're gonna do. Let's grab that probe and I'll start with the green one. And I'll try to get my hand out the way so it'll focus back there for you guys. There we go. Let's go green or yellow. That's 0.8 ohms. Green is 1.1. And brown is 1.2. So we got lucky. Let's see here. So it looks like the brown lead is the highest of the group, so that'll be the one we use in conjunction with the black common to acquire our proper 16 ohm output. So it'll marry up well with the impedance of that speaker, and then we'll take it from there. I'll coil up and tape up these guys for future use, and then the next challenge we're going to have is determining which of these guys, the blue or brown, is going to coincide with their respective plate leads. I mean, if I get it wrong, this thing will feed back in a very unpleasant and obvious manner. So there you have it. All right, Derek, let's get this thing. Ooh, let's cross our fingers and toes here, buddy. What a crazy operation this was. Oh God, dude, this is insane. All right, let's honor your father-in-law's spirit here, buddy. We're gonna pray on it. Okay. Oh man, I'm nervous. Right in front of y'all. Oh, I hear something. Here we go. Let's do it for the big guy. Yes! Yes, dude. Are you satisfied? I am satisfied. Let's get this back in the cab, brother. All right, Derek, really quick, here's a sample on a pre-holiday work day. I noticed when I put it back into the cabinet, I'm getting some intermittent background noise, like little crackles here and there. But we have a full new complement of tubes. So I may open her back up and see what's going on, but for now... And I took care of the reverb for you. Nice. That's a lot of drive. You can kind of hear a little more predominantly. And I'm just wondering if it's something on a circuit here, because that wasn't present. You hear? It's very faint. But let's see what she does. So we'll further investigate. You guys take care. It was at this point that I had noticed an ominous sign. After experiencing the noise, I tore it back down, remeasured, and I was able to observe thermal runaway. Caps are good, board is immaculate, sockets are immaculate. Hoping that this is just a bum set of output tubes. We'll get a new set in shortly, next couple of days, and I'll update you guys then. Till then, have a happy Thanksgiving.